Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope everybody's staying safe and warm. Um, I said in my very first video that I was eventually going to address a certain topic, and I, there's been a few reasons why I haven't. Um, One is mainly because I don't want attention. I don't want to be felt sorry for. I don't want pity. I don't want to be accused of being, an attention monger or whatever. It's not me. There's a reason why over the last 6 years I have isolated myself and been a very, very private person. Um, Family and friends I know view my stuff every now and then. They can attest to that. Um, and the topic is my disability, my health. I've had some people in the past say, oh, you're just an overweight dude trying to get over on the government, or you're just lazy. Let me tell you something. Lazy is that's couldn't be further from the truth. Since I was 12, 13 years old, I had a job. If I didn't have one job, I had two. Um, I got my bachelor's degree. I got a master's degree. I got certifications. I mean, I've always busted my ass until I couldn't anymore. So another reason why I finally decided to talk about this is to kind of reassure others that I know are going through similar issues. I know there's people out there that's got it way worse than I do. Um, that there is hope, there is peace, there are ways to get around the struggles and over those hurdles. Um, the main way is God. Trusting God, give it to Him. I mean, I'll admit, there are days where I struggle, and I get angry at God. I blame God. But I find that in those times where I am the most tested, those are the strongest moments of strengthening my faith. Um, Another thing that's really helped me a lot is this new community that I've been welcomed into and become a part of, and the people in it. People like Daniel from Bearded Viking Woodworks, people like Van Lot with Big Daddy's Workshop, um, Steve with My Honey's Handmade, Rhinestone Suzanne, Jim with Soldier Farms, um, Jeff Butler, Dragon's Den. There's so many. Ray and Sandy. And if I don't name you, I'm sorry. There's just so many awesome people that uh, have really not only made me feel welcome, but also made me feel like I can actually do this. Because let me put it this way: the short period of time that you see me in videos, that's the 5% of the time where I actually feel good enough to do a video, where my pain medication is kicked in good enough to where I can actually get up and move around and do some stuff. It's not easy. The other 95% of the time, I'm laid up in this recliner in pain, can't hardly move, got ice packs on my head, you name it. So, that being said, one, I don't want pity, so save it. I don't want to be felt sorry for. That ain't what this is about. Two, what it is about is offering a shoulder, an ear, maybe to those that are going through similar issues. It doesn't have to be a health issue. If you're going through some stuff and you need help, please, you don't have to get specific, but we would like to pray for you. and I know that this entire community would like to pray for you. I am not so bad off to where I can't pray for others. It costs me nothing. So, um, that being said, let's move into my history. This is the only video I'm going to make talking about this, and it will most likely be the last time I even speak of it because I just don't like talking about it. A lot of people probably don't care. If you don't, go ahead and change the channel. So, in 2013, I ruptured L4, L5, and L5S1. Those are lower lumbar discs. I ruptured them both at the same time, picking up a 16-inch solo clutch for a semi-truck in a part shed. Well, L5S1 was the worst. Both discs were ruptured in two places. Basically, you have your spinal cord, and they were ruptured on both sides of the spinal cord. Well, L5S1, the very last disc, was the worst. Roughly a year later, I finally had the operation to have it corrected. I had a discectomy and laminectomy. So about a 3-hour surgery, 12 weeks of physical therapy, no big deal. And then I was good for a while. 2020, March of 2020, right when COVID hit. Started having headaches, fevers, losing feeling in my arms, losing feeling in my legs, falling down, blacking out, and I decided I might ought to go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor. She said it was all psychosomatic in my head, so I demanded an MRI and a second opinion. So I went and got an MRI of my head and neck. Well, it turns out I was in serious trouble. From C3 to C6, which is almost your entire neck, I was suffering from a condition called ossification of the posterior longitudinal ligament. You have a ligament that runs down your spinal cord. Basically, it's between the spinal cord and here's your vertebrae. So this is the vertebrae, and there's a ligament that runs between them. Well, this ligament had calcified and turning into bone. Well, that bone was crushing my spinal cord from C3 to C6, so behind 3 vertebrae, and it had my spinal cord crushed about 90%. My neurosurgeon, who I always had a great relationship with, he looked me dead in my eye, looked like he had seen a ghost. My wife standing there with me and said, "Zach, you are one sneeze away from being paralyzed from the neck down. You need surgery and you need it now." And he said, "In 2 weeks, we're having surgery. I don't want you to turn your head. I don't want you to sneeze. I don't want you to do anything. You be as careful as possible." So I was terrified because that's not the way I want to live my life, is paralyzed from the neck down. Don't want to live my life that way. So I go in and have the surgery. Here's where they went in, anteriorly, and removed all of C4, half of C5, put in all this titanium grafting. It's the largest graft in 40 years that he's ever put in. And yeah, it's still in there, all the titanium. I can't turn my neck any further than that. I can still feel it when I swallow sometimes. The back of my esophagus rubs it or catches on it. That was an 11-hour surgery. I was in a hard neck brace for this one right here, for 7.5 months. Slept in my recliner for 7.5 months. And the headaches didn't go away. The fevers didn't go away. I then went to Mayo Clinic for a week, saw I don't know how many doctors, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, if Mayo Clinic can't figure it out, nobody's going to figure it out, right? So then I start having major issues in my left leg and my lower back again. And remember that other disc that I didn't fix, the L4, L5? So it turns out there's other parts of my spine that like to grow extra bone, a lot of ossification. So all these osteophytes that have grown all around and encased this ruptured disc, we're now severing my sciatic nerve in my left leg. It got to a point where the pain was so bad I was clawing and screaming into the air. My wife had to call an ambulance. I had to crawl down the hallway and down the stairs on my hands and knees to get into the ambulance. And and I have a high tolerance for pain. I've never felt that kind of pain before in my life. That was December of 2022. And to this day, my left leg is still 60% paralyzed. I can't feel it. I have a hard time walking. I was in a wheelchair for a while. A few months later, I did have the surgery to the discectomy and laminectomy to fix that disc. That surgery was rough. I was in there for 5 days after the surgery and sent home and had to come back. And then I was in ICU for another 17 or 18 days. Here's what happened. The drill tip barely touched the lining of my spinal cord because you have to drill through to get down to the disc to get it all taken out. Well, usually it just leaks a little spinal fluid. They put a little patch on it and go about their day. Nope, not me. Apparently my spinal fluid pressure was so high that the nerve endings started mushrooming out of my spinal cord, which again, in 40 years, my neurosurgeon had never seen. He starts trying to patch it up like crazy. He had to make a 2-inch incision in my spinal cord, push all the nerve endings and everything back in, put 9 patches on it. Well, I get sent home 5 days later. Spinal fluid is gushing out of my back. I have to come back. So he put another lumbar drain in, and I'm in ICU while they're draining spinal fluid every hour, on the hour, 10 cc's. So it takes the pressure off my spinal cord so the patches heal and hold. I was in ICU for 13 days and on my back, couldn't move. So I know Van Lott's talked about being in the hospital and staring at the ceiling. I've done a lot of ceiling staring. I'll tell you, brother. It's got back home. Like I said, my left leg's still partially paralyzed. It's hard to walk. That's why I walk with a cane. I still have headaches, still have fevers, still have all my other issues. While all this is going on, I also have an issue that I still have to this day. It's called fasciculitis or benign fasciculitis. They call it benign because they don't know why it's happening. It's maddening. It's a reason why at least once a month I'm kept up 4 or 5 nights in a row, don't sleep, not a wink, because my body won't let me. This is what it looks like.
That's a reflex. Heart rate doesn't get over. Stones.
All day, every day. Fun, right? He figures out, my neurosurgeon, that the headaches are most likely because of the spinal fluid pressure that he saw during the surgery, which, we've done lumbar punctures, but we couldn't get accurate readings. He says I need a shunt, a brain shunt, VP shunt. So after trying to schedule it and just nightmare of just bureaucracy and insurance and all that stuff, I finally have the shunt surgery December of 2024. And here's pictures of that surgery. The shunt is right here. That's the shunt valve. It goes into my skull right here. Can't see because of all the hair, and down to the center of my brain to relieve spinal fluid pressure. The drain goes down my neck, down over, I don't know if you might be able to see it or not, but the catheter line goes down through, over the collarbone, down into my stomach and drains into my large intestine. I still have headaches. I still have fevers. They think the fevers is because of nerve damage in my neck. I have gotten about 50% relief on the headaches, but it's not It's not perfect. It's not the cure. And I don't think there will be a cure. I've also had ulnar nerve surgery. You probably can't see the scar anymore. Yeah, you can. There it is. That nerve had to be moved to the other side. I had carpal tunnel surgery. I need to have the same thing done on this arm. Multiple spinal surgeries, brain surgery, still have issues, but I'm not disabled. Just because I get on a camera 5% of the day, 5% of the time, and do a little light wood crafting or whatever doesn't mean that I'm healthy. I really do wish I was. I don't want this life. I want to be at work. I want to have a job. I want to have a career. I went to school for it. It drives me nuts that my education that I worked so damn hard for, it's wasted. It's gone. Useless. Every day is a struggle. Every single day. But I'm grateful for all of it. Because if I hadn't gone through all this, I wouldn't have met all these awesome people in this group. I wouldn't have made these connections. I wouldn't have been able to be a part of it. I wouldn't have known about it. I mean, I had a career. I was making really good money. I mean, my income now is a third, maybe even a quarter of what it used to be. That's the story. And if you're going through something similar, if you're going through things that make life seem impossible, make life seem difficult, even make life seem like it's not worth living, I've been there. I understand. I empathize. Suicide, that has definitely entered my mind more than I'd like to ever admit. I mean, I actually put myself on medication to help me, get me through it. Because I, for a long time, felt that was my only answer. That was going to be my only escape. That was going to be the only way I could get away from the pain. I still deal with pain on a daily basis. I still have bad neuropathy issues in my arms and legs every day. Can't see every disability, folks. Not everything is so easily identified. So before you judge, educate yourself a bit. That's all I'm saying. But if you feel like, suicide is your only way out, please seek help. I don't care what kind of help it is. God, medications. God gave us the knowledge, medical knowledge, to treat ourselves. Get on medications that help you if you have to. There's a reason why we have the knowledge we have. I rely on God every day. And let me tell you, suicide, it's not the answer. Don't do it. Because you may be out of pain, but everyone you left behind that loves you and cares about you, they're hurting more than they've ever hurt before. I say this from experience too, because I've had 4 members of my family commit suicide. A second cousin that I unfortunately barely knew because I was really young. My uncle, my mother's brother, back in 2001. A first cousin back in 2013. And my father in 2008. So I know what it's like to lose family to suicide. So I'm not just talking out of my butt on that either. Talking from experience. So please don't do it. Don't even entertain that thought. But I understand. I know what it's like. I truly do. So seek help through God, through doctors, whatever means necessary. If you need prayers, please tell us in the comments what you'd like us to pray for, and I will make sure it gets passed along in our Bible study to our prayer warriors, and we'll get you prayed up. They work. They've worked for me. I mean, it's and like Van Lott says, God's answers are in 3 different ways. Either no, yes, and yes is usually, I'm going to do it my way, not yours, which is always better. So accept it. Or not right now. So I love everybody. I love this fantastic group of people, this community, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. You've made my life better, and I appreciate that.